All right, welcome back. We're going to get into it today. Lots to talk about. Like I told you this morning, we're back on it. Ripple Bank, XRP Monetary Policy, the XRP secret path to domination. That's what we're going to talk about today. And I believe in large part, I'm going to show you at the very least, a path in which it could get there. Let's roll that intro and get right into this thing.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. All right, let's go ahead and do this. I got to shout out somebody for having a great crypto names. I told you guys, as I promised, I would help you promote the cryptos that you buy from Unstoppable Domains, which, by the way, as an example, I was just looking at it this morning, and I haven't bought it yet, but Vacations Unlimited .crypto is available for $40 and $60 if you buy the .zil too, and then you corner the market on Vacations Unlimited. That's a great name. I got to be honest. I might be buying that after I record it if you don't beat me to it. But at any rate, I wanted to share XRP 1%er has Divine Spark .crypto. We got it .crypto. I think that's a great one. The New Norm .crypto, which is a fantastic one. And the Original .crypto. Now that is some great names and many, many more. So you can reach out to XRP 1%er if you like those names. I do want to remind people that in the .com era, we saw Voice.com sell for $30 million. Sex.com sold for $13 million. And by the way, Sex.crypto sold just a few months ago for $90,000. So we're very early in this new asset class of cryptos, but believe me, it's where it's all going. Now let's go ahead and get into the news and start with this because I want to walk you through this information and show it to you. And I do believe that we are leaning heavily into the notion of Ripple or RippleNet becoming a bank. Now, I know RippleNet is really a collective organization of partners, and it's it's all software based, and the compliance and governance and everything is built in. But nevertheless, I want to lean into the notion that Ripple may become a bank. Ripple may also stay a special purpose acquisition company and have these spin-off entities like RippleNet and other things that are developed out of Ripple become the actual entity. So we're still maybe a little early from knowing exactly which way it goes, but the special purpose acquisition vehicles are also known as SPACs. Right? And Ripple has certainly been a SPAC because they've been acquiring certain things like their partnership with MoneyGram and so forth. But what I want to point out and start with here today is this. Ripple opened up beta testing for issuing lines of credit to other institutions and companies at competitive rates and the whole bit, right? This, I will remind you, is a banking activity. This, underneath of Brian Brooks and the OCC, anyone that is performing banking activities falls under the purview of the OCC. Now, that means that whether you actually have a banking license or not, according to the OCC and Brian Brooks's view of how the OCC governs or regulates, that would put anyone doing these things. So Venmo, PayPal, right, Square, as well as the banking system itself. And then Kraken recently applied for a banking charter and got it out of Wyoming. This is interesting because I also see Ripple as an entity exercising monetary policy on the digital asset XRP. For one, they locked up the escrow into 55 different contracts, right, to release once a month. And then once that billion XRP releases, what do we see from there? We see Ripple receiving the escrow as the steward of the escrow when it's released. And then they decide how much should stay out on the market and go OTC and how much should go back end on a new contract of the end of the 55 months that are already in place. This, to me, is really the exercising of monetary policy on a new emerging asset being introduced as money to the world. what I find interesting about that is that when we move here and we look here, Ripple told us in Q2 that the healthy, orderly XRP market is required to minimize cost and risk for customers. And Ripple plays a responsible role in the liquidity process, providing it, right? And as more financial institutions leverages RippleNet's ODL service, more liquidity is added into the XRP market. That said, Ripple has been a buyer in the secondary market and may continue to undertake purchases in the future at market prices. What this tells me is that if we're watching Ripple actually exercise monetary policy on XRP, what I'm seeing is when they buy back off of the secondary markets, which are exchanges that you and I purchase on, by the way, is really them ensuring that the customers that are using this asset every day will be able to guarantee them that it will be a tight trading range, right? And not have the volatility that normal assets in this market have. Now, you might say to yourself, well, wait a minute. No, I don't want that. I think of the market more like Bitcoin, and I just want to see it go up and up and up, or have these volatile spikes. It goes down, I buy some more. It goes up, I sell a little bit. But that's not what the role of XRP is. This is not a trader's asset per se, right? What we're actually dealing with here is an asset that is supposed to be the most reliable asset on the planet, no matter what. That's what we're actually looking for. And that is what XRP has been doing, or actually showing us. And that's what Ripple has been doing to show us the capabilities of XRP, at least to the customers and partners that are on the network itself. So what I see there is the exercising of monetary policy on the asset XRP. And if you can show this method and prove this out, then you can actually really prove to your customers and partners that this asset, it works. It will be the solution going forward, and it will work. And I do believe we will see a synchronized moment, that we will see either central banks and small, medium enterprises, payment providers, remittance companies, and the like join in on this party, because they all know that it works better than the current solutions they have available to them today. Now, moving to the next piece. Data shows that, shout out to Michael Val 5 Links, over the past 24 hours, Ripple, its major ODL corridor with two other big players, wired 116 million XRP, while BitTrue launched another XRP trading pair. This is interesting to me because what we may be seeing here, and I can't be sure, but what it looks like to me is an exercising of that monetary policy that I just walked you through, that they're taking this much amount and getting it back off the market per se, right? Potentially. I mean, we don't know for sure, but it looks that way, right? And if they're pulling that back off the market, then they're ensuring that the XRP price stays a tight, reliable trading range to prove that it is the asset to be used going forward in the future. Now, let's go over to this clip right here, because this shows us here the Office of Comptroller of Currency has given the federally chartered banks the green light to hold reserves on behalf of stablecoin issuer. Now, this is interesting too, because what we're really talking about here is we're talking about the idea that banks in the federally chartered system can custody the reserves of stablecoin issuers. Right? This is fantastic what we're talking about here. Now, the idea of understanding this really goes deeper to me, because let's take a look at this right here, because we drill down on this, and what we see here is U.S. regulators give the green light to stablecoins. Well, they've done it in the U.K. as well. I'm not going to read each statement, but it has a statement here from the OCC. We all know that stablecoins and the issuance of stablecoins and the reserves are now able to be held by a federally chartered banking system. We have an even more clarifying comment from the SEC that there is absolutely no problem with that happening, and they issued a no action letter from their department on that. Jeremy Allaire issues from Circle and says that first of all, they're an issuer of the USD coin, right? Which I believe, along with the USD coin, is also the Paxos stable coin, that these will become your public-private relationships with the Federal Reserve, and they will be obviously monitored and within the regulatory framework and monetary policy to make sure that they are staying within the confines of those things. And instantly, the digital dollar is already here. It's already here. That's what I'm seeing. Now, what's interesting about this, when you go down and look at this, you go further, and we know we've been over the FSB, the regulatory agency body connected to the G20 that's talked about global stable coins quite heavily. And then we know that also the BIS and the Innovation Hub has talked about it as well. But the UK has made it very clear also that they are clear that the Bank of England, Governor blasts Bitcoin, but says stable coins and CBDs could coexist. And it's absolutely right, because you're talking about private issued dollars versus a central bank issued dollars, digital dollars. And that to me is pretty damn exciting. Now, then you come here and you have the comments from Brad Garlinghouse just a few days ago on November 13th when he did the podcast with Frank Chaparro. Now let's listen to this again, because the idea here is that you must think about the way this is coming together. The OCC is given the guidance and the regulatory clearance to be able to do these things, freeing things up, that there's no harm for the federally chartered banking system to participate in digital assets and the reserves for stablecoins. Very interesting thing here, right? Now listen what Brad Garlinghouse says here.
I mean, certainly we do know of central banks looking at the XRP ledger as open source technology to issue stablecoins using the XRP ledger. And that may happen. And frankly, it's open source technology. You know, we don't even necessarily have to be involved with that. Now, as experts in using the XRP ledger, you know, some of them talk to us, and we try to be helpful, and we think that can be good for the overall dynamics in the XRP community. Now,
there you have it. And that's him telling you to your face, to all of us to our face, we do know central banks are looking at the XRP ledger, open source technology, to issue stable coins on the XRP ledger. Well, now, combine that understanding with the understanding that the OCC has just cleared the entire federally chartered banking system to hold reserves for such stable coins to be issued. The plot thickens. I ask you at this point, how much is a highway worth when all the world's money is on that highway? Yes, that's right. I'm talking about the decentralized exchange, the XRP ledger. All the money. And then we have Benoit Courier from the Bank of International Settlements, the head of head of the Bank of International Settlements and the Innovation Hub, said wholesale CBDCs will likely use blockchain. If there's no CBDC, the other option is to integrate distributed ledger technology with existing payment rails, the real-time gross settlement system. So there's an option one way or the other. What do we know about blockchain and distributed ledger technology? We know what Brian Brooks told us that I played in this morning's video. You can't have blockchain or distributed ledger technology without having cryptocurrency. They go hand in hand. That is a fact. So when you hear him saying blockchain or DLT, what he's also saying in code is that there's a cryptocurrency behind the settlement of these things, no matter which way you go. That to me is extremely, extremely exciting. Now, I got a little diagram here because what I believe we're actually looking at with the clearance of the UK and the USA is the OCC and the SEC regulatory sandbox that's been designed to kick this whole thing off. And if you look at this, I have red here for SC for stable coins, and then the reserve bags for them at the different banks around the world, the central banks, right? And it could be the federally chartered banks in the country too. Here in the middle, I chose to speculate and put Ripple Bank in the middle. And this diagram and this ledger here is the XRP ledger connecting everything. Stable coins can't, or the banks can't participate unless they develop a stable coin or a digital dollar CBDC, right? And that's where we're at here. So either the private sector creates the stable coin or the CBDC is created by the central bank itself through a private relationship, however they do it. But at the end of the day, what I believe we're seeing is the logjam truly be kicked open for a regulatory sandbox, because we don't need legislation. We have enough here to let the tech run within a highly regulated space, the federally chartered banking system. So you can monitor this tech and see which use case proves out and which doesn't. Because it's just like Cryptopolis told us, you can't legislate what you haven't defined. So even though we don't know technically what XRP technically is, right? The reality here is this whole market's not really been defined clearly. And if you're going to understand how to legislate something, I think you have to have a regulatory sandbox, much the way they did the early days of the internet. And I say that because that's exactly what they did with the early days of the internet. And you have to let the utility and the tech prove out. We are really at an inflection point here, because in this emerging market, I think it's really foolish and short-sighted to try to legislate something before you see the inflection point of use case utility take place and show you what's going to work. If they make legislation today, and we really don't know for the next 12 or 18 months, once they start using all of this stuff, that XRP works and this one doesn't and that one does and this one doesn't. But the legislation they put in place is really put in place for something that doesn't make it after 6 or 8 months. It doesn't make any sense. That's not the way they've done it before. I don't think it's the way they do it now. So that's where I'm at here. So I wanted to put this diagram together and just show this to you guys, because I think we're really a lot closer to going where we all want to go than we ever really knew or even realize. And maybe I'm way off. I don't know. I'm speculating. But what I will say is if I'm wrong, I'll make the video about that too, because I don't mind. It's a learning experience, and this is what I'm seeing. I've just gotten comfortable showing you what I see here. And what I see here is the ability to really take the stable coins, put reserves behind them, and because they all have collectively agreed to use the XRP ledger, I believe that will drive the value of the ledger up. Because if I have a road that I own and no one travels on it, it's only worth as much as it is to me. But if I have a highway that becomes the highway of the world's money, that value of that protocol is going to drive that through the roof. And that's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. And before you go, if you haven't done it, guys, go join Link 2. Private investing made simple. And listen, they have great companies, the picks and shovels, that back up this entire blockchain crypto space. You do have to be an accredited investor to buy the stuff, but even if you're not, join the community. There's people like Greg Kidd and Tim Draper, venture capitalists that understand they're actually invested in helping build this space out. You'll learn so much just to be a part of that community. So make sure you join that. I will catch all of you on the next one.